shit, Jamie. To the car. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Atheist Mobile. Got the keys? Catched. Sweet. Oh, that's really loud. Get over it. All right. Okay. Dude, we made it. Whew. Very cool. And everyone else, welcome to Talk Heathen. Well, let's first off saying hi to our live studio audience.
Hey, welcome to Season 2, Episode 555, or 15.
It's April 15th as well.
So it begins.
Yeah, it's April 15th as well. And we are super excited to be here. Jamie, we have missed you. Where have you been?
Oh, I've been everywhere. I've been to Canada, Malago.
What's Malago?
I don't know. It's part of like a tongue twister warm-up. I just assumed it was another place.
Okay, might be. I just don't know.
Anyway. Haha, it was a lie. I've been in Austin working my face off every night at a bar.
That's right. We're back.
Yeah.
And it's time.
And better than ever.
So, did you have a good week?
I did, despite a Friday the 13th. You know, I was real worried that like, I don't know. I was going to break a mirror and then Jesus was going to walk under a ladder or something. I forget how it goes.
Yeah. All right. I had a good week.
Oh, yeah?
I did.
What happened in your week, sir? Did you perhaps...
became the social media coordinator for the atheist community of Austin.
What?
So...
There he is.
So today is actually my first day. I haven't done anything yet, but I'm excited to get
already slacking.
all that other good stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anything else big this week happened? Nothing I'm willing to talk about on this show. Maybe.
Wait, did I forget something? What happened this week? Hold on, hang on.
So
I'm Googling big thing this week.
Get right into calls. Jamie, you ready? I'm ready. So this first person is actually a friend.
Hi, Rusty.
Hey, Rusty.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, I said hi first, I win.
So for everybody watching, Rusty is a long time friend of mine. Rusty, do you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
No pressure.
I'm from Long Beach. I myself identify as non-binary, transmasculine, genderqueer. I am an English professor, and I'm currently getting a PhD in English literature and culture studies.
Okay.
Cultural studies.
Rock on.
Cool.
So you're saying that you are non-gender binary and you have a good grasp of the English language?
Yes, I do.
I wonder why we had you call in today.
I think I have a question that pertains. No.
So, actually, I'm really glad you called in. We have a couple questions for you, just frequently asked questions. Since we had a call in last week that was all about pronouns, and because I'm just some dude.
Yeah, he is just some dude.
Yeah, I'm not in I'm not in the trans community. I'm not experiencing that kind of stuff. So having you be able to come in and talk about it is really important.
So what he means to say is, welcome, token.
Thank you. That was really bad. Before we jump into any questions, is there anything about last week's video that you wanted to say before we?
Now is your chance to lambast Eric.
Oh, I get that all the time. Don't worry.
Because I wasn't here.
Rusty?
Wait, what?
Did you have anything to say about last week's call before I ask you questions?
Oh, yeah. So you had a caller who was confused about whether or not they could actually be used as a grammatically correct singular person pronoun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I know the answer.
And it can be. Unfortunately, as someone who works in an English department and goes to school in English departments, I encounter this all the time. I tell people my pronoun is they, and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. I can't. Like, I respect your gender identity, but I can't use that pronoun. It doesn't sit with me because it's grammatically incorrect. And that's BS.
So why is that BS?
Well, first of all, that's thinly veiled transphobia. And the
Eric.
thing is, we use non-gendered pronouns all the time.
Could you give me an example?
Yeah, I have students who often leave stuff in my class. And so, like, when someone leaves their glasses in my classroom, I will say, hey, who left their glasses? Because I don't know if it's a student who is male, female, trans, whatever. And that is referring to one person with a non-gendered pronoun in the singular sense.
So you're saying that anytime you don't know whether or not the pronoun is he or she or whatever, that we naturally go to they, them?
We do. And that's been happening since the late 1800s.
Okay, so it's not just some newfangled SJW.
So what you're saying is that the social justice warriors invented this last week, and now they're trying to destroy our grammar? That thing that we're so proud of?
Okay, so now
sorry.
Here's the new part. And the only part that people can really argue about.
Okay.
Since the late 1800s, we have been using they as a pronoun for when we are unaware of someone's gender. It is new for people to stake a claim that they should be used when you don't want to assume someone's gender and when you want to identify as non-gender. So specifically identifying as non-gendered, that is new.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, to me, it just seems like that's not hard to do. The problem isn't really grammar. Like we have in our system a grammatical term that is perfect for people who identify as trans. It's fantastic. But we have to get around the idea that when we think we know someone's gender, that we don't have to make an assumption. We can just use they.
Okay.
We have to get around this idea that even because we think we know something, we still might be wrong.
Yeah, challenging those assumptions. So I'm going to rapid fire a couple questions to you so that we can get these out of the way and say that we talked about it and we're good. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
All right. So number one common complaint is that there are hundreds of genders, including astral genders and people who want to be unicorns. What's with that? And is that emblematic of the larger community?
I looked up the astral genders. Apparently, I have a gender I didn't know about. I'm autigender because I'm autistic.
Okay.
No.
Wait. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, there's an autigender. I had no clue.
Do I have other genders?
I think that there's an important difference between, like, recognizing what we have within legal limits and how we want to identify ourselves amongst friends and loved ones.
Okay.
If a loved one of mine wanted to identify as an astral gender or whatever, I would try to respect that as much as is possible. But, like, also, our legal constructs are very binary, and trans is hard enough for a lot of people. The astral gender thing is, to me, it seems just like there are people in the community who are trying to, further define themselves. And I don't think that there's a problem with that.
Well, so
I think the problem comes when you are trying to make everyone do that.
So
just like the unicorn thing, which is different than the astral genders, the mythical genders, they actually really remind me of furry communities or animals. within the kink community.
So I guess my question here has to do with societal norms, right? So we don't want to fall within the male, female. There's a spectrum, and it's okay to be non-gender binary. But if you don't know the astrological, zoological, whatever meaning that someone else is putting behind it, then why would you call that gender? I mean, it feels like gender has a very specific role about how you are in society, but if you're not relying on something that's in the common parlance, then wouldn't it be better just to say, this is also a part of me? Because it feels like you're muddying the water and making it harder for people who are just trying to go by they, them.
Yeah, Rusty. No, sorry.
I am not one of these people, but if I was with someone in a relationship with them, I would do my best to respect that. If I was really close friends with them, I would do my best to respect that. Okay. But I hope that these people are understanding that, that they can't enforce that with everybody. And that I don't know, I feel like there's a limit to, I don't know, that's a tough one, because you don't want to trample on someone, but at the same time, it's okay. Let me give you an example from the kink community. For instance, there are actually people that identify as unicorns or foxes or puppies
or bears. Yeah.
Right.
Well, okay.
Well, bears is a different thing. Oh. Bears is a category of gay men.
Okay.
Specifically in the leather community, what I'm talking about are furries or pets within the kink community. So what they do is, often for sexual gratification, but sometimes not, they embody, as much as is possible, a fox, a unicorn, or a puppy.
But
now, in that space, in that context, you talk to them as that thing. So, if someone is a puppy, I will say, "Oh, who's a good boy? You're such a good boy." Yeah, they're a puppy. But outside of that context, they are whoever they are, and it has nothing to do with that.
Okay. So I guess my question is the word gender a good place for that to be at all? Because it feels like that would belong somewhere else. I mean, gender, in the common parlance, if you're trying to create something for people to be able to follow,
Yeah, I don't think those things fit under there.
I don't either.
And
it's funny how much
I think that's more of a sexual identity.
Places, but
and within the specific kink and furry community.
Yeah.
I agree. I just wanted
to
nail that down. I just wanted to nail that down because there are people who will say, oh, there are all of these genders and I can't catch up with them. And if you want to know that, if you want to be able to address people, having something that's not in there, you should be able to have it narrowed down for people to be able to go through. And if you love someone, if you want to continue to know more and express more of yourself, like you said, you're not going to share at work what your kink is unless you got a really cool job.
Also you have to understand that if you're being ethically kinky, what you would do is not expose your kink to people who have not consented to that.
Okay.
So there's also that issue.
So the next question is you have people who are saying, if I misgender somebody, I'm offending them and I'll go to jail. I'll be legally held responsible because I'll just accidentally misgender somebody and the PC police are going to come and take me away.
That's only in Canada where they have the PC SWAT teams that'll take you away.
Yeah.
Don't you know?
Don't you know?
Don't you know?
They're real polite about it, though.
Yeah. I'm sorry you've misgendered someone.
So can you talk to us a little bit about that? If somebody accidentally misgenders you, are you going to jump down their throat?
Okay. First of all, the whole Jordan Peterson thing and the BC-16 law. First of all, that's very similar to the law that we have in the United States that says, hey, try to respect people's orientations and gender identities.
Does that include first meeting? Like, are you supposed to divine if you don't know, and if you mess up,
No, you
go
ask.
to jail?
You just ask.
I heard that if you misgender someone, they win the right to prima nocta. Is that accurate? Or
What?
sorry, sorry, Rusty.
Rusty, Jamie. Jamie, I'm introducing you to Rusty.
Before.
You can't sue someone for misgendering them.
You can't?
You cannot get sued for misgendering unless this is a workplace violation.
Okay.
Because then it's harassment, and that's only available in some states.
So if I misgender you on accident when I first meet you in the workplace, can you sue me?
No, it's if you misgender me consistently, even though I've said, Eric, I use they, them pronouns, and you continually do it, and it becomes a source of harassment. And if you're in my workplace.
Okay. I wanted to put a very solid pin on that specifically because that is a complaint.
Yeah. Also, Rusty, sorry, you called into
if you're in my workspace in California. You asked me to move to Texas, and I told you I can't go somewhere that doesn't guarantee me the right to work. I can be fired for being transgender and working in Texas.
Okay, so that's actually a lot of what I wanted to say. If somebody said, I identify as a coffee mug, I want you to call me coffee mug anytime they say, pronoun. Would you agree that that is not emblematic of the community and what's trying to be created?
Oh, hell no. Hell no.
Yeah.
That is what is purported,
and most
that's what we've gotten a lot of
when I come up with that, people are trolling you. Like, there was one dude who came to one of my trainings, because I'm a diversity trainer, and he said, I identify as an Apache attack helicopter. And he was trolling me because he didn't agree with us. And he wanted to see what I did with him when he said that.
Well, I want to put that solid pin in there because the first thing people are going to say is this is not emblematic of the greater community, and the greater community wants to sue you, put you in jail, and have the right to scream at you if you accidentally misgender somebody.
No, the greater community wants to be respected. They want to be treated humanely.
Okay.
And most often, people will be understanding if you misgender them. Some people are dealing with a lot of emotional trauma around it and may not be able to handle misgendering very well. But the majority of people are pretty cool if you mess up. I mess up all the time, and I am trans.
You mess up? You're not allowed to. You'll go to the... I'm sorry, it's gonna spiral.
It's my job to derail things.
Right?
One of us has to be railing.
So, Rusty, is there anything else, or Jamie, is there anything else you wanted to ask Rusty?
I was going to say, hey, Rusty, thanks for calling in. Sorry that I jokingly did what you deal with regularly in a serious context all the time.
Yeah.
How's it going? Okay, so you don't have to move to Texas, but you should visit Austin at some point.
The food is it's
Oh,
worth the food.
I think I'm going to try and visit this summer.
That'll be really nice.
I'm going to take you to a gamer. Sorry.
All right. So, Rusty, I think we're going to move on to the next call, but I really appreciate you coming on here because this is definitely not within my wheelhouse, and I don't think it's within Jamie's wheelhouse, and being able to discuss it so that we can say, hey, refer to that conversation.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
Maybe we'll do a side series where we explain not straight things to Eric.
Oh no! Oh, that would be fun. That'd be real
That would
fun.
be fantastic, and I would totally call in, if not visit, for that.
Yeah. Straight man in the gay jungle.
And Eric, as always, lovingly, I'm always your token.
Ah,
I love you.
Shiny.
I love you too, man.
Have a wonderful, wonderful day, rest of your day. And
Jamie, it was nice talking to you also. You have a great day, guys.
Nice talking to you too.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Hey, sorry I made your friend feel uncomfortable on the show, but you're only allowed one.
Look. You make me feel, well, let's just go.
I mean, that's my job though, right?
Yeah. I want to move on. Oh, shit. I just dropped the one of the people whose calls I wanted to take. Please call back.
Will the caller on line 4 please call back?
So let's go to
Please call back.
Tyler in Las Vegas. Tyler, how's it going? You're on live with Eric and Jamie.
Nice to talk to you, Eric and Jamie. Thanks for taking my call.
Nice to talk to you, Tyler.
What did you want to talk about today?
I actually, the same thing that last caller wanted to talk about. That conversation really interested me, and I want to say I'm a huge fan of how you guys conduct your podcast. It's very awesome and respectful.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to try to add to that conversation.
Okay.
And I'm glad he called in first because he gave me some good talking points.
All right. Rusty goes by they, them.
I'm sorry?
Rusty goes by they, them.
Oh, Rusty, yes.
Yeah.
Rusty, okay, they, them.
Yeah, they gave you some good talking points.
Yes, they gave me some good talking points. So I want to preface this by I have a sister who identifies as a lesbian.
Okay.
And she is going to a LGBTQ pride rally, I think, next week. Mm-hmm. And, so I have the utmost respect for, I know what she's gone through. I know what a lot of these people go through. And I don't mean to disrespect anybody, but what I would like to argue is that they, them is not a functional thing, because if I say I'm going to a Wu-Tang concert, them, you'd say, do you want to go see them, or do you want to see Led Zeppelin? Them. These are ambiguous. Yes, it's singular, but it's always ambiguous. To refer to a singular person could get confusing, and I'm happy to do it, but it's just grammatically a little weird.
Well, I mean, I understand that having a single third-person pronoun, or a third-person pronoun that can be used both in the singular and in the plural, doesn't distinguish when you use it whether you're referring to, a singular person or plural people. But the English language has not had a third-person singular pronoun for a couple hundred years.
And I think there should be one. I mean, I think that there definitely should be a androgynous pronoun.
Androgynous pronouns, band name dibs.
Functional. Huh?
Sorry, androgynous pronouns, band name dibs.
Jamie likes to cut people off. Go ahead, Tyler.
No, I think there should be an androgynous pronoun just made for people who don't want to be called him or he or she or her. But them or they, I think, can get confusing, and I think that's why there's such a pushback from a lot of alt-right people. Even when I had this conversation with my sister, it seems people get really, really heated. And my intent is not to disrespect anybody. Usually when somebody says, call me them, they, I usually just say, okay, I will, but end up just using their first name because it's confusing in everyday life to be like, oh, they are coming over. Or, I just say here, like the person's first name usually is my default because it's more functional. That's and she tried to argue that was a sign of like extreme disrespect, and I was like, I'm calling them by their first name. I don't see how that's disrespectful whatsoever.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that statement may have been in the context of that larger conversation. I think.
Or it may. Do you think it had to do with you? Well, I don't know.
I mean,
I
wasn't there, and if I wasn't there, then how can I know there isn't a Jesus? I mean, the conversation went that way.
I definitely don't think that stance flies when you're meeting someone on the street.
On the streets.
But again, I'm not the purveyor of this kind of stuff, but I would definitely, in my personal life, if somebody got super, super upset because I, misgendered to them on the street when I met them, that person's got some shit going on in their life. That has nothing to do with whether or not they're,
Well, and I think that's where empathy comes in. That's just where you stop the conversation and be like, hey, change it to something else and be like, hey, what's going on? Like, you want to get some ice cream, hang out? Like, just try to be a kind person and do something different if they're an acquaintance or something and they get all upset. Like, hey, let's just be happy together. I ain't going to judge you.
Yeah.
But then they'll be all like, oh, I'm lactose intolerant.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Tyler.
Can't please everyone, right?
Right. You can't. And you don't have to, and you're not required to. Nobody is required to make everybody happy. Our show is here, and it upsets people. And we get emails all the time about it because it upsets people, especially religious people. But that doesn't mean that, we hurt their feelings, so we need to stop. We all are dealing with this level of discomfort. And we have to face that fact, Learning about the world around you, especially when you make a mistake, is uncomfortable, but that's
people are going to offend people, and then you have to consider where you go from there.
Yeah.
Because sometimes saying I don't believe offends someone, and sometimes saying you're going to hell and your children are going to hell and your mama's going to hell and they deserve it offends people.
Yeah,
and sometimes these two things are not the same.
Yeah.
Sorry. And sometimes, sorry, I said he is, more akin to one of those than the other, which is, sorry.
Because I slip up sometimes. I'll definitely apologize and be like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that.
Wow. The bigger picture.
I wanted to know. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say the bigger picture is don't be a dick.
Yeah. No, I think that is the bigger picture. I wanted to know you guys' stances on because a lot of the community says.
Tyler, if you're going to bring up another super controversial subject that is going to further splinter things, I'm going to be very upset.
My stance is usually shoulder width apart, though. That's how
I don't know if you're going to think it's controversial. I'm wondering
wrong.
if you guys are.
All right, go for it.
Say somebody makes a trans joke. I think that's totally fine because when I joke, I do it with the utmost love, and everybody gets joked at. Everybody gets made fun of. I don't know if you're familiar with this YouTube channel, but H3H3 made a joke where his penis touched the toilet bowl, and he's like, I'm cutting it off because he's a germaphobe. And people thought he was transphobic, and he's like, dude, it's not. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
What are your stances on joking and offensiveness?
What do you think, Jamie?
Okay, so I don't think that the phrase trans joke covers it, right? There are atheist jokes and there are gay jokes, and I am atheist, and I joke more as much as I do on this show as I do off this show. In fact, probably more often off the show.
Much more crude.
Yeah, much more crude off the show, actually. Yeah, Eric is not looking forward to when the show ends.
Nope.
You like it. Don't even.
It makes me uncomfortable.
Don't even front.
Go ahead.
Oh, sure. I'm the only one that makes crude jokes.
I don't know what you're talking about. Let's move forward and answer the question.
I was about to make a reference to one of your crude jokes, but I can't on the air.
No, you're not going to.
But anyway,
Tyler,
I would say it's a matter of respect, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and honestly, there's so many different viewpoints. I heard an argument that's all about punching up versus punching down. There are a lot of people who are just like, one of my favorite movies of all times is Blazing Saddles by Mel Brooks. And in Blazing Saddles, they take the wind out of racism, by portraying, that kind of thing. And so, personally, I wish I could give you like a hard line response on everything, but I think there's a lot of nuance to it, and there's a lot of situational stuff. And I mean, personally, for me, I guess it's a matter of taste. I wish I could give you a better answer, but I can't. I got nothing for you.
The reason I called in is really I wanted to convey an idea to the viewers and to you guys is that for me, and it's like when you laugh with somebody, your brain like pumps out oxytocin, which is a bonding chemical. Like to me, laughter should be something that we bond over, whether or not it's at the expense of yourself. I think it should be punching up, punching down, making Jew jokes, blind jokes, atheist jokes, theist jokes, racial jokes, trans jokes. I don't care. It's all funny, and I think we should all respect each other, but laugh at each other at the same time, because we're all just fallible humans that are silly, and it's fun to just joke around with each other.
Well, that's a very sweet place. Yeah, that's a very sweet thought. There are things that
are over the line.
Yeah. And I'll give you an example.
Oh, God.
Like, when I was in middle school, we would make a lot of gay jokes, and those gay jokes would be very much, oh, you're gay, let's beat them up, or gay people look like this, or they act like this. And so when I started encountering people who were like, oh, I'm gay, I was like, oh, so you immediately, I was like, oh, you fall under all of these stereotypes. And so I think that jokes, and I don't know, it's nuanced in a weird way, and I feel uncomfortable about it.
Yeah, when we first met, it was like super offensive. No,
that's fair. That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
the important thing is empathy. Don't be a dick. Man, that's like the theme so far throughout the episode. Don't be a dick.
We get it. Eric is a straight man. He doesn't like dicks.
All right. So
I would say there's a difference, right? So you when you were young would hear actually you said make as well gay jokes. When I was young, I would hear from other people.
I would make every joke. I'm like South Park.
Well, I would hear, and because apparently I didn't have funny friends, things that were just offensive that were tried to be stated in the form of a joke. Because the most emblematic category that I can pull out is that there's a category of jokes that are called Black Jew jokes, where you just combine those things. So there are areas that just shouldn't be gone into.
That's going to get clipped out, and you're going to
honestly, I think those are funny.
Well, the statement that, no, there are people that try and make those jokes can be funny. The jokes that I heard I'm putting jokes in air quotes now, are not so much.
So,
well, it's almost.
Can I recommend The Scathing Atheist?
God
awful movies if you like humor on the edge.
Yeah, Tyler. Well, I very much appreciate your call, and I really am enjoying this.
Yeah.
We're getting a whole lot of people in the.
I might come back next week and talk about actual atheist stuff if you guys would have me.
I
love your guys' podcast, and you guys are great.
Thank you for calling in. You know how to get in touch with us, right?
Outside of the show?
Yes, I do.
Let's do the dance for those who don't know. Let's go. Mail at oh my gosh, Mark, that was awesome. Mail at talkheathen.com.
Facebook, Talk Heathen.
Reddit, r/talkheathen.
My Twitter, @reason_evidence.
My Instagram, @Eric the Heathen. My Twitter is being built.
I thouut you had one already. You said you.
My Instagram. @Dirty Heathen. I have nothing up. Go ahead.
We had this momentum.
Yeah.
And then you pooped on it.
I did.
And now it smells bad. And I'm @Jamie the Heathen on Instagram. And we're forgetting something. What are we forgetting?
We'll get there.
We're forgetting something.
Facebook.
Oh, I'm on Snapchat as well, with the same name, Jamie the Heathen.
And Tinder. All right.
No.
Take it easy.
That's for
And we'll talk to you later.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, you heathens.
Go without God.
All right, so we have a whole bunch of people in the chat that are like, are we going to get to atheist stuff? So I want to get to some atheist stuff.
Technically, everything is atheist, because nothing has any gods, so...
Then it's secular.
I'll fight you.
Nathaniel in Mexico City, you are live with Eric and Jamie. How are you doing?
Oh, hey guys. I'm doing well. How about you?
Doing good
Doing
from
well.
Mexico City. Nice. Did you come through online?
I actually was interested. At first, I was interested in calling the Atheist Experience because when I used to be an atheist, I really enjoyed the show. I really enjoyed the logic, but it's hard to get into the show. And I saw a couple of shows about you guys, and I really liked your attitude, and you seem like really cool. So I thought I'd call in. I just want to say I'm kind of nervous, and I've never called into any show, and English is not my native language, so I'll try to make my point the best way I can without seeming like an idiot.
No, you're doing well, and honestly, your English is way better than my Spanish, so we're good.
Okay, well, what I'd like to talk about is I can't think of any reason why an atheist would have an objective source of a moral obligation, right? So most atheists tend to be like moral subjectivists. And for example, if you look at Sam Harris, what he says is that we can get an objective morality because we all have the same goal of improving our well-being as a human race, and we can determine what's right and what's more appropriate for that goal than what not. And I agree. I think that makes a lot of sense. But I think most people don't have the innate goal of maximizing humanity's well-being, but rather their own well-being, and as a consequence, like secondary, their family and friends' well-being. Most people say a good life is for them is if they have a good job, a nice wife, a nice husband, a nice car. If they're happy, then the world's happy, right? I mean, we most are, in that way, we're incredibly selfish and self-centered.
Yeah. Particularly if they want both a husband and a wife. Leave some for the rest of us.
Well, yeah, you can have both of them. But that's innate in our biological makeup, right? We really aren't martyrs or anything like that. We just want to be happy, right? So if that's true, and I think it's true, that our ultimate innate goal is our own well-being, and by extension, our family and friends, because they're in relation to us. They're not objectively valued. They're subjectively valued to our own goal and to ourselves. And that has a lot to do with biology, because they're related to us, and that's why we value them, right? And as closer as they are to us, they are more valued. So in that way, why should an atheist ought to act morally when it benefits his own well-being more to act immorally?
Okay,
right?
So just to phrase this, is this why do we decide to behave morally versus immorally? Is that right?
Not like that, because there are reasons why you may want to act morally, because it benefits more to you to act morally, because you want to have a good relationship with the other person, so you don't want to cheat on them or lie to them or something like that. That's not beneficial to your own well-being. But why act morally when acting immorally is more beneficial to you, all things considered, right?
To be clear, do you mean like in a specific example? No, I'm not asking you for one. I mean, are you trying to say that in general it would be more beneficial for me to act immorally? Or are you saying if there was a circumstance...
Actually, generally you could say that acting morally is more beneficial, right?
Yeah.
But there are certain circumstances where acting immorally may benefit you more, or does benefit you more.
So can I just...
You and a stranger hanging from a cliff, there's only one vine
just to be able
to climb up, whatever. Sorry. No, it's all good.
Just to be able to compare and help me here. What is your answer to this? Maybe we agree with you. What do you got?
My answer is Well, you need an objective. You need for morality to be, because otherwise morality would just be a matter of convenience and utility to yourself. For morality as a concept of good and evil to exist, you need a moral obligation, right?
So hold on, you said you need an outside objective truth. What are you referring to?
Not just the truth, but rather an obligation, because truth is valued because of its usefulness. For example, math. You could say 2 + 2 = 4, and that's useful to you. It doesn't matter if it's true. What matters about truth is that it's useful. It's more useful to go with truth than not. So you could
I feel
have
like
a
we're
moral
dancing.
objective.
Yeah,
Nathaniel.
I mean, the thing is, the reason that it matters is that it's useful. It's more useful to understand what is true, or have a real understanding of an accurate understanding of reality than to have an inaccurate understanding of reality. But if your statement is, oh, what motivation would a person without a God or without a belief in God have for doing the right thing, even if it's disadvantageous or even if it's not as good for them personally?
So hold on.
Because doing the right thing is advantageous for humanity, and I care more about that, is my personal answer.
And for me, I kind of want to drill down, Nathaniel. So it sounds like you're getting awfully close to the presuppositional apologetic, that you need to have your morality grounded in God. Is that where you're coming from?
Yeah, I think that's because if you don't have it, well, maybe not God, but an objective source of an obligation. I ought to do this, not I should do it because it benefits me, right?
Yeah. So here's the answer to that. While on paper that sounds great, the fact is we're in this world together, and we do the best that we can. What we don't want to do is we don't want to assume that there is something that there isn't, and then give ourselves special privileges, right? So if you're saying that somebody is doing that, I would challenge them to prove the validity of that. We are navigating this world the best that we can, but to say you need to have it grounded in something outside of yourself that is an absolute truth, you need to make a whole lot of assumptions, and you need to be able to sidestep a whole bunch of really weird, awkward, terrible pitfalls. On one side, you're looking at the accusations of social Darwinism. If that happens, oh yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You also have nihilism. You're dealing with just all of these, these different places to go. But the honest answer is we don't know, but we're trying our best. But I would very much encourage you to take that line of reasoning and throw it away, because it's no good. It doesn't lead you to anything productive. All it does is invalidate the other. It seeks to invalidate the other side instead of making an argument of its own, right?
Well,
so,
in a way, because my argument for God is not that. It's not where I'm coming from. I have other things for that. But what interests me more, because when I was an atheist, I thought about it, and I said, well, it's rational then to act. The most rational way to act is in a self-centered way, because my goal is for my pleasure, satisfaction, and I don't want pain, right? So I better act in the way that maximizes the pleasure I get from this life and decreases my pain, right?
No.
I think.
That's not that's a matter of evaluating what your goal is when you're acting. So you can believe in a God and also believe that you should maximize your pleasure and minimize your pain.
And on top of that, there are a bunch of other things that people do that absolutely don't cause them pleasure, but they do anyway. Self-sacrifice. People talk about doing something completely selflessly.
Anything that Phil Session does with his entire life.
I'm there's
Phil
a word,
Session
and
is
I'm
alive,
completely
real.
missing it, and that's really bad. But that's okay.
Stamp collecting.
So why do people? You stop it. Why do people do those things? Well, you can honestly say that I've heard the argument that your continued genetic line has more to do with it than your personal happiness.
The selfish gene.
But you see, that's not rational. Even if it were true.
Why isn't it rational?
If I were biologically wanting to do something, that doesn't mean that biological impulse is rational. In the same way that maybe I want to have sex with a very, very attractive girl without protection that I know.
So
that,
hold on, just a second. I'm sorry. Jungle Jargon, Mr. Shadow Kitty, and Owen all say it's altruism is the word I was looking for. Thank you. Sorry, go on.
Oh, you were looking for altruism.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, my bad.
Go ahead, sorry.
I thought you were looking for like baton twirling or something else.
Maybe we would have, biologically, maybe we have the goal not only to survive and have pleasure and everything like that, but also to pass our genes, and that's why we would want to sacrifice for others so that our genes may pass on. But from an individual goal, that doesn't make much sense. I mean, self-sacrifice doesn't make very much rational sense. Maybe if your goal is another, but as I said, I think our goal, everybody's goal, maybe not you personally, but generally our goal is for ourselves. Otherwise, we would live in another way. If we really wanted humanity to be good, it would already have been good a long time ago. But our goal is more about ourselves, about our own tribe, so to speak, to be well off, right?
I gotta disagree with the statement. Oh, no, it's not rational, because you've touched on why that statement that you've made is false. So it's either rational or irrational based on the goal. If you change the goal, then yeah. So if your goal is I want everything for me, then self-sacrifice doesn't meet that goal. It would be irrational to engage in self-sacrifice in order to get more stuff.
And because we don't observe that in the world that we're in, we can actually we can line that out. Right, Nathaniel? Because we don't observe that happening.
Sorry, I missed that.
No, that's okay. Because we don't observe that happening, we can rule that out.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I missed the last part.
Sure. Because we don't see that happening, people, our society at large, where people are only out for personal self-gain to the exclusion of everyone else, we don't see that regularly in society. So we can rule that out as a reason.
I cannot disagree, because we don't see people do it to the exclusion of others, but they include others, but their larger goal is for themselves. So they include others because they benefit from it.
Yeah.
Right?
So
I mean, not necessarily because. So there are people that do things for the benefit of others because it benefits others. If you want to say, there are people that engage in altruism and they're able to do that because after they get home from the soup kitchen, they can put their feet up, and sit on their really nice couch and watch a plasma TV. We can have that conversation about how it's easier to help others if you don't have to work as hard to feed yourself.
Yeah, but
the statement that people only go to a soup kitchen because it benefits themselves is not one that.
No, or even if they do it totally altruistic, they only do it on Sundays, right? They don't spend their life doing it.
I do.
Their goal is not. They work.
Phil does.
And they work for themselves. They go to the movies. They do all things in a day about themselves and not for others.
So
maybe they go to the kitchen on a Sunday or something like that for a couple of hours.
So I kind
of the time.
So I kind of agree with you, almost. So people have personal motivations for everything, and in the life of hypothetical person Adam, right? In the life of Adam has personal motivations, and one person will be with Adam throughout the entirety of Adam's life, and that person is Adam. So Adam knows more about when Adam is hungry than anyone else, or when they're tired, or whatever. However, Adam also, in this hypothetical, has the personal motivation of it makes them happier. They want the world to be a better place. And so they go to a soup kitchen. And if you now we're just arguing about like, well, what does altruism really mean? Does it really exist? If you're only being altruistic because you want to, does that count?
Yeah.
There are people that want to help each other. Some people more than others.
And
Yeah,
you
but,
can even turn it on its head and look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You need that support to be able to grow into the best person that you can be, and contributing to that system creates a better world for you.
Of course.
So,
but
In the same way that paying taxes for public education, even if you don't have kids, means that someone else's kids, are more intelligent and less likely to crash a dump truck into your house or whatever.
yeah. So we do have a whole lot of calls up. So I think we're going to move on. But Nathaniel,
Okay.
you were great. I mean, your mastery of the English language was able to get everything out.
Thumbs up. Yeah.
And we really, really appreciate you listening and calling. And even though you disagree, us having this conversation was fantastic. So thank you.
Yeah.
thank you guys.
Take
Have
care.
a great day.
You too.
You too.
One thing that I do want to clarify.
Yeah, I'm not ready to move off the topic quite yet. But
Yeah, me too.
Let's fight.
You go first, and I'll
No,
say.
you go first.
Okay.
That way I can have the last word.
Sure. Okay, so The Selfish Gene is a fantastic book. It talks about biological imperatives to be able to behave in a moral way, but it is a descriptive biological book. I've read it, and sometimes it wanes into this weird moral ought place, but when I read it last, it was a descriptive is. And just because your biology does something doesn't mean that that's the best way to run a society. And so for anybody who wants to argue that this is a ethical imperative that we're giving out for people to behave in such a way, this is our best way to explain biologically how we came to where we are, not how we should behave in the future. And so descriptive, not prescriptive. And that's all I have to say about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's part of Richard Dawkins' contribution to biology. It's significant.
That's right.
But what I would say is that what I want to get into is I often find that people, particularly when they're considering subjects like this, separate actions and motivations into categories in a way that seems to make sense on the surface, but gets in the way of understanding. So separating actions into altruistic and not altruistic when you're considering them is a mistake. I believe, got in the way of part of the conversation that I wanted to have. They're different motivations that a person has, right? I have a left hand and a right hand, and they're mirror image, but they're less different than a person's motivation to go to a soup kitchen or to go to the movie theater. They're not.
Cheers.
They're not different.
Cheers.
At all. Yeah.
All right. You good?
And yeah, hopefully that came across. Usually that would be one of those ones where I keep rambling on and on and on and on.
And this is where I cut in and say
because
that the person
I'm
who
not sure that people will
Mother, I will...
I am not your mother.
Okay.
Hi.
I hate you. So the person
Love
that I
and
hung up on is
smooches.
Jimmy in San Antonio. Jimmy, you're live with Eric and Jamie. How's it going?
Sorry, Eric's such a jerk.
Sorry I'm such a jerk.
Oh no, that's cool, man. Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey,
What's
hey
going
Jimmy,
on,
how you
brother?
doing?
I wanted to ask you too, if y'all were familiar with the research that's happening in Baltimore right now.
No.
Nope.
I mean, with what neuroscientists are calling mystical experience.
Oh, okay.
Tell us about
You've
it.
heard about
Yeah.
that?
I mean, I've heard of experiments with mystical experience. I have heard about experiments with mystical experiences. Someone write that into a tongue twister.
Are you talking about the psilocybin studies, the studies with mushrooms?
Yeah.
You Googled.
Yeah,
that.
those
I did. So here, I guess the first question is,
Well,
if you're on drugs, why would
Let
you...
him. I mean, we don't know his angle yet.
Fair enough. Go ahead, Jimmy. What's your...
I have my suspicions as well.
I mean, I can only tell you what I've read. I've read all the peer-reviewed articles on it. I've been following it for like a decade now because they have been going on for a while. They've been accumulating. And
Science.
what they're saying is that what they're calling a complete mystical experience is one and the same well, of course, with these high dose psilocybin in a pill form, it's the extracted, essence of the psychedelic mushroom. Is one and the same with the reported mystical experience that has been reported in each of the world's major religions throughout millennia. And that it can be found in. Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, it is common in different cultures for people to do drugs and whatever drugs are available to them. I guess the first question is what is a mystical experience?
I would say
it's a completely defined term in the study. I mean, these been reviewed and published. And I mean, they didn't just start with. Oh, go ahead, man.
I would also say, there are mystical experiences outside of drug use, and also not every religion points to that. Sorry, I'm just jumping on that because I get a lot of all the religions point at mystical stuff.
I was going to say that.
All of early Christianity, Judaism, Islam, boom.
They're related to natural mystical experience. In other words, you don't need psychedelic for it to happen. Yeah, it's a good point. But they consider this. And so they're saying that their findings are in complete alignment with a view on the major religions historically known as the perennial philosophy. I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
Fill us in, because that means the audience doesn't know either.
Yeah, it's impossible for them to know something we don't.
Well, members of the audience won't know.
Well, I mean, if they've been following this research or they've been following the science on these topics, then they would know. But
thanks, man.
Like I said,
I asked you to define what that. Never mind. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I could try to define it for you guys. It is defined concretely in the study. I mean, it's an elaborate definition, and They go by characteristics that happen inside the experience, and I think it's 6 primary characteristics, but the core one is an experience with people kind of bandy this term about, but a unity with all things. But we're speaking of like a pure unity within
the ego death.
This is the important, ego death within a phenomenon in consciousness. It's a literal impression inside a temporary experience.
So,
and it's. Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, I guess the question is are you deriving a truth from it, or are you saying that people are benefiting from taking hallucinogenic drugs? Those are 2 separate things that which are you trying to say?
Yeah.
They're not mutually well, they are.
I think Eric is getting at the this study sounds interesting. Are you making a claim or drawing conclusions or saying that it points to a god, perchance, on our Atheist call-in show?
Thank you, Jamie, what he said.
Got your back.
You always do, brother.
Oh, no, he
Jamie?
dropped.
Oh,
all right. Okay,
sadness.
So if we keep having problems, actually, if he just wanted to further discuss this kind of things, Reddit r/talk heathen is perfect, because you can also drop links to the things that you want to cite and have a lengthier discussion and express your thoughts in entire paragraphs to be responded to in entire paragraphs, and it can be a whole thing.
Yeah. So.
And then there's a spell check so you don't misspell psilocybin.
Starts with a P.
Like pterodactyl.
One thing that gets me is when I was doing hallucinogenic drugs, trying to figure out the answer to everything, and I thought I could get in touch with the god or the deity or whatever it was if I just, meditated and tried the drugs.
If I just did more acid.
I communed with my ceiling fan. I was at peace with the universe, and no, that ceiling fan gave me some. Anyway. While I felt great about it, and while I look back at it and look at it as a fun experience, it didn't give me any truth about the world around me. All it did was drop a bunch of chemicals that my brain reacted to, and I was flying high.
It didn't give you any lottery numbers?
No.
It couldn't tell you, what was happening in China at the time with remote viewing?
You know what? Just inside of my brain is the only place that it affected. Outside of my brain, outside of me, there was nothing bigger about the world that I knew. And so while that while that experiment is really interesting, I think for me the interesting part of it is the increased empathy that seems to be coming out from people who have tried these experiments. It doesn't really have anything to do with God or gods or whatever, but it's just kind of being better able to interact with others, and that's pretty cool.
I like the way you said that. Not just the words, but the way you said God or gods. There, it was almost like God or gods. I was like, yeah.
So,
but I would say, I mean, it's that's the problem with rationalism as opposed to empiricism as well. Is you have to go, if you want to know about the outside world, you have to go to the outside world, right? It's fun to have fantasies and spend time with yourself, but sex and masturbation are different. So,
dig it. So I would
practice
like to
alone, practice with other people.
Before we get off topic, Matt
Sex
in
is always
Cleveland, Ohio. You
Hi,
are
Matt.
live with Eric and Jamie. How's it going, Matt?
I'm doing really well. How are you guys?
We're doing good.
Fantabulous.
I missed this guy. Oh my goodness, I missed this guy. I'm really glad he's back.
Miss this guy so much it disturbed sound itself.
Right. What do you want to talk about today?
Well, I am an atheist, and
Congratulations.
I'm about 6.5 years sober. So
Congrats.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
thank you. And I go to AA meetings almost on a daily basis.
Okay.
And here, I'm sure you see where the problem with this is going. You know,
Yeah.
It's all God. You know, second, third step is all, came to believe in a higher power and turn your will and your life over. And for the last 6.5 years, people on a daily basis, almost on a daily basis, have been telling me, I'm not going to stay sober and I'm not going to change my life unless I have a higher power. And it's funny because
What?
I know.
Well,
I agree, though,
some people
that
have a different sense of humor.
Right.
Sorry.
I agree that, that there are powers greater than myself. The judge was, the cop that arrested me was, but I don't need to believe in a spiritual entity and pray on a daily basis and say the Serenity Prayer and, the Lord's Prayer after every meeting, and
Lord's Prayer.
And I just wanted to see what you guys' perspective on it was.
Agree.
Yeah. I mean, really largely, while any excuse to be off and be sober, I'm happy with, there are excuses that are detrimental in the long run. And I think that if you are telling yourself that you are powerless, that you are weak or that you can't be able to achieve something, why the hell is that a good thing? I see nothing beneficial. The fact is you're sober and you did it yourself, Matt. Rock on.
Right.
I mean that is fantastic, and that people have the ability to do that is fantastic. Now, there are some people who really do have very low self-esteem and
And telling them that they're worthless and powerless and that they'll never be able to do anything without a higher mystical power doesn't help.
Yeah. Now, no, that's
one
okay.
of us has to be a downer, and you're all smiley right now. So
That's all right. Good cop, bad cop. I like it. So while
you're guilty.
I want to see us build a more robust system for people to be able to seek sobriety in a secular way.
Well, and if I may interrupt you for a second,
of course.
Did you hear about the, there's a case going on in Cleveland through federal court that it was a lawyer actually, got busted with DUIs and stuff, and the judge, told him that, or sentenced him that he's got to go to, 3 or 4 AA meetings, and he's got to go through, a rehab program and stuff like that. And he's, as an atheist, he's like, are there any secular options? And the judge kind of was going against that right now, saying that it has to be a 12-step program and stuff like that. So it actually is going through federal courts right now through the circuit up here. And we're hoping that it's going to kind of set some kind of a precedence to, that it doesn't have to be a 12-step or something like that, that there are secular options.
Do you have a name of the, do you know the case name? I can Google it, but.
I don't. I'm really sorry. I just saw it in the news. And,
no worries.
And it's funny, actually. One of my close friends is a Lutheran pastor, and he's the one that brought it up to, in a meeting, and we talked about it a little bit. That meeting got real heated.
Yeah.
So I guess quick question for you. It sounds like you know a whole lot more about this subject than Jamie and I do. In your research, have you found any resources that you would like to share with people who might be in a position of needing to seek sobriety?
Well, the only thing that, there's a couple, especially in the Cleveland area, there's a couple of Buddhist temples in Cleveland, and as much as I am an atheist, I appreciate some of the moral pathways of Buddhism and stuff, and there's a Buddhism recovery road, and I thought that's pretty cool. But there's actually a program around here called Smart Recovery. It's a cognitive behavioral change instead of the spiritual malady that, they always talk about. And I think it's just like smartrecovery.net or smartrecovery.org or .com or something.
All right.
And it is a good program. I've been to it a couple of times, and there is no prayer and God and stuff like that.
So I'd actually like to offer another resource. It's 184 I Doubt It. It's the Recovering from Religion's hotline project, where you can call and get in touch with a peer support network that's absolutely free. And they have an exhaustive database of places all over, it's spread out outside the United States.
All over the world.
Yeah, all over the world, where people are able to not just get in touch with secular communities or just having somebody to talk to, but also moving into the secular therapy project, therapists and other medical resources that you can avail yourself of. And all you have to do is call. So if you or anybody that's listening is struggling with that, or just needs somebody to talk to in general, I cannot suggest enough calling 184 I Doubt It. It's the Recovering from Religion Foundation. They're amazing. And if you are listening as someone who has the time to donate, to volunteer, check out volunteering, because I know that they can always use more people. And I'm speaking low, and I'm going to get in trouble for that.
And
I'm telling Vern on
you bringing that up.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys bringing that up, because it's like, one of the things that I always struggle with is, I did get rid of most of the people in my life. So pretty much everybody I know is all, in the programs and in the rooms and all that. So I don't have too many secular or atheist people that I know.
Give it a call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might do that.
Yeah. There's this call-in show on Sundays that you can call if you want to find some secular people, and they've got some places online. The show is called, I think, Talk Heathen.
No, those guys are assholes. Don't
Well,
check
there's
them out.
some good people in the chat, right? Just humor them. One of them's super pretentious. The other one's got curly hair. You'd say,
So check us out. You can always reach out to us, mail@talkheathen.com. You can find us Reddit r/talkheathen. You can get in touch with Jamie on Instagram at...
I'm on Instagram, Jamie the Heathen.
You can find me on Instagram at Eric the Heathen. You can find him on Twitter at
Tweeter. At reason_evidence. You can find me on Facebook. You can find us on Facebook.
Talk Heathen.
You can find Eric on Twitter.
At Dirty Heathen.
Yeah,
I've got nothing going.
Tweet him
going on right now.
The first 100 people to tweet at Eric.
Whatever you say is on you, man. And Jimmy's gone.
Will give me $1. No.
Well, so Matt, thank you so much for calling in. This has been a really fun talk. Really appreciate what you had to bring to the conversation.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing
you guys made my day.
The case to my attention.
You take care of yourself, brother.
You too.
Go without God.
Are you turning that into do you want that to be a thing?
It is a thing.
Okay, so before we move forward, if you like what we're doing, subscribe, and share the show. We recently hit
15,000 subscribers.
15,000 subscribers, and we're moving and we're growing.
It's
so
over 4,900.
If you're excited, if you want to share it, if you want to get those conversations going, we have clips, we have full episodes. Share them out. If you're watching, please hit that like button. We really do appreciate it.
We frequently read through YouTube comments. That's casting a wide net right there, even for me. But
actually,
we do.
We do.
And we don't do, I'm in the middle of, I know I'm always in the middle of saying something.
Yeah.
But I'm actually in the middle of saying something now.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I've almost forgotten it. Hold on, wait, yes, okay. No.
Okay. Hunter, you're live with Eric and Jamie. How's it going?
Good, how are y'all doing?
Good.
Excellent, it's a good day. What do you want to talk about today?
Well, I just wanted to talk about, so for me, I recently just discovered that I was an atheist.
Congratulations.
Hey,
I wanted to
welcome.
talk about that. I know, it's been great coming to the club. I haven't got my club card yet, but I'm still waiting for it.
You haven't been issued your license to sin yet?
Well,
I've applied for it. It's coming in the mail. It got lost a couple times, but it should be here soon.
You know what? Definitely get in touch. You got to get those George Soros checks coming in.
Yeah.
Be part of the conspiracy.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of, if you know George Soros, send him this clip. Speaking as a board member of the ACA, we accept donations.
We do.
We will take your money.
The ACA is a 501c3 nonprofit. Hunter, we are talking all over you.
Usually we have a better pitch than give us your money, but yeah. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I've watched the show before. I'm used to Jamie doing it, so.
Yep, it's only me. Eric never does that.
Nope.
Oh, no, Eric is too perfect at this to do that.
Yep.
Oh.
But,
What do you want to talk about, Hunter?
well, what I want to talk about, I guess a little bit of background on me. I was raised in like a really religious home. Me and my family, like we never really went to church much, but it was pretty obvious and expected that, you know, if you lived in this house, you were a Christian. And so I never really ended up going to church until I got older in my teens and started going with friends. And it wasn't until about a year ago that it started clicking in my mind that this doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I was even in church today with a friend, and I was just sitting there going, like, this is all just delusional. And I was just wondering, like, because I'm the only person that knows that I don't believe it. How do you even go about just being honest with people that, hey, I don't believe this stuff anymore?
It takes a while to get there.
And it's different for everybody. That's the thing that makes atheism hard. It'd be a lot easier if we were a cult. There'd be one answer for everything, and you would have to do it immediately.
So really, a lot of it is your discretion. You don't have to come out to everybody. There's no God that's forcing you to. You don't have a salvation to get to if you don't hurry up.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it's take care of you. Take care of you and just be honest with yourself. You know, it doesn't always need to be this big sit-down talk. The way I tried it out when I was around, you know, my close friends, they all knew that I was diving into it, and it was no big surprise. But for people, you know, ancillary type people who knew me but didn't know me that well, I just would passively, you know, if something came up, the war on Christmas was a big one for me. I was like, oh, well, actually, I love Christmas and I'm an atheist. Yeah. And they're like, you're an atheist? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, but you helped us with this charity fundraiser. Yeah, I did.
Oh, you're not an atheist, you're a good person.
Oh, yep, exactly. So
there's also a book we can recommend, or at least I would recommend, which is Coming Out Atheist by Greta Christina. I mean, I have more to say about this, but that's also a book recommendation.
Yeah. Recovering from Religion, again, they've got great resources as well.
Mm-hmm. I would say, so I've come out a couple of times, and there's this idea of like, you know, Mom, Dad, let me sit you down. Here's this big deal. It's this huge thing. Fuck your Jesus, rah! Right? Well, that's not really what I would advise, generally, depending on your parents' sense of humor. But just the idea that they can see that you're still you, even though they gradually get the idea like, oh, okay, you know, they don't like going to church, or, oh, you know, they're less enthusiastic about the Easter service, and then eventually they start to see that you don't believe. So one of the things that's interesting is, even though I'm the only one in my immediate family that will say I am an atheist, there are a select couple other people that are non-religious, right? Some of them have been mostly non-religious through their lives, or at least not practicing or not thinking about it. But one of my siblings falls into that category, and they would describe themselves as non-religious, and they don't understand why I call myself atheist. But my parents learned about this without, my sibling trying to tell them. They just didn't have any strong feelings about it. When we get back, are you gonna have, you're flying back into town from college, are you gonna have clothes to go to the Easter service? And their answer is or the Christmas service or whatever. Their answer is well, no, not really. I think I'm gonna want to sleep that day or whatever. Is as forceful as their statements on that ever got. And I actually was sort of in the room at one point when my parents were discussing something related to the church and my sister going to church for this. And they were trying to say okay, well, we'll go to this church service, but they're not gonna come with us or whatever. And it was, I'm trying not to tell tales, but it was my dad, and there was this pause because, my parents are both believers and both go to church, and I think my mother spends more time there than my dad, but it got to a point where they were sort of well, she's not gonna wanna go because, and there was this awkward pause where they were gonna be and my dad said something well, because, she doesn't believe in Santa Claus anymore. It was actually the phrase he used. And so it's this sort of oh yeah, well, they grow out of it, right? As long as the ties that are there because they're your family are strong, the tie that's there because you go to the same church as them can slowly fade away and be subsumed by the familial relationship. Yeah. Right? If the reason that they like you is that, they raised you, they were raised with you, whatever, and they know you, then the part where it's, but also we all share one bread, one cup becomes less important.
Yeah. Hey, Hunter, quick question.
Are you still on the line?
I've talked to you via email, haven't I?
I know I emailed a couple months ago, but I'm not sure if that was you or not that I was talking with.
Yeah, it was
probably,
me.
yeah.
I remember you, man. Thank you for calling in. And
no problem.
Keep in touch. I definitely look forward to emails. I try to answer almost all emails. Yeah, dude, good luck on your journey, and you're not alone, brother.
I know the call has been long, but that's because I've been talking.
Yes,
so.
And I want to get to an actual religious caller.
Okay, all right, fine.
Yes,
God,
so
I
Hunter,
ramble on like a religious caller.
Yes, you do. Take care, Hunter. We'll see you next time.
Sorry. Thank you for calling
guys.
in.
It was great calling in.
Yeah.
I love you, right, Jamie?
I know, but sometimes I doubt.
Charles, in Cleveland, Ohio, you are live with Eric and Jamie. And it is the very end. We've got like 10 minutes, and what a great topic.
We've got 11 and a half minutes.
What did you want to talk to us about today?
Okay, I have a question. All right, and my question is pretty general. Obviously, I believe that there is a creator, God, or whatever you want to term a person to use. My question is, if and I don't mean to put this on any religion, however you would conceive God, it don't have to be Christian, whatever it is that you're thinking of, whatever a creator is, you can apply this to that. Well, as far as the beginning, the Big Bang Theory, and the law of energy, nothing to be created nor destroyed. At the beginning, that first atom, or whatever the smallest form was of the very beginning, how would you explain how that got there? I know science doesn't have an exact answer, but just in your opinion, how do you think that came to be?
I don't have a conclusion. So there's a talk on, the talk that I recommend, have always recommended to people is by Lawrence Krauss. So I can't.
That's a weird one.
It's a good talk. It's just the person doing the talking. Never mind. So with the Big Bang, energy is something that isn't created or destroyed because there's a constant amount of it in the universe as we know it at the moment, right? But the universe as we know it at the moment, four-dimensional space-time, originated or at least as far as we can tell, the farthest back we can measure it is to a point 1 Planck after the Big Bang. So what happens before that, I don't have any conclusion about, because I literally have nothing but speculate. Like, there would be literally nothing I could do but speculate. Unless, of course, you accept that it was created by the invisible pink unicorn. But that's an actual
If you were
thing.
to speculate, what would you come up with if you were to speculate?
Dude, I have no idea.
So the last time I speculated in order to form a question, because I knew I was going to get to meet like an astrophysicist. And I had always wondered what, if any, connection there was between a black hole and dark matter, because black holes consume just endless amounts of matter and they're there, right? And whatever, and we don't know where dark matter came from. And so when it comes to four-dimensional space-time, particularly because they explain gravity by the bending of that, right? Like if you imagine a sheet that's like held, flat, so it's very tight, and then you place like a heavy object on it, you get like a ripple, and if you tried to roll a ball past it, it would get pulled by it, and that's one of the ways that they describe how gravity works. And so because at the center of a black hole, there's a point of infinite density, and the accepted laws of physics break down, et cetera, in my mind, I went, okay, well, has anyone considered the possibility that you go, like, an object or something is pulled through that, and it's the equivalent of a tear in four-dimensional space-time, and that sends whatever that physical object is through that, and it's on, the other side, in air quotes, of that, and that matter is dispersed or destroyed or changed somewhat on the opposite side and spread such that it creates dark matter, which is a very interesting thought, but which it turns out very much, the answer is no.
That was a really long story to get to.
Yes, but it's very interesting, and it demonstrates the point is that I have just enough information to speculate and come up with this kind of like, ooh, this would be an interesting kind of conversation that I could use as a question to a person who knows about it. So if you wanted to know my equivalent of that for the Big Bang, it would be, right now we don't know whether the universe is going to end in, heat death or a a big, like a heat death where it expands infinitely, or a big crunch. Is it possible that 1 Planck before we can measure at the Big Bang is the end of the previous big crunch, and that it's a series of expanding from, an infinitesimal point, and then resulting again in a big crunch that expands like a ball bouncing. However,
Jamie,
that's as close as I can get to speculation, and all of it is based on no science. So that's the answer to that.
Go ahead, Charles.
You asked for it.
All right. Pretty appreciate it. I appreciate it. That's all pretty much I had. My conclusion is, I think it's hard. My thing is, as far as the God goes, I believe I can't really be honest and say that I had these actual personal experience that made me feel like this was specifically a God. But for me, I think it's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that a beginning point had to start somewhere. So just being human, everything has a cause and effect.
Well,
so it's kind of hard to grasp the very point first start.
Well, here's my view on it. My view on it, Charles, is that I don't know. And it's super uncomfortable to be in that I don't know place, but I guarantee you it's more honest. If you don't know, just say you don't know. But if you try and give it the extra baggage of giving it the God name, then you're bringing in a whole bunch of other definitions that you're going to have to contend with. And it just gets really fuzzy and nasty. The better thing to do is just say, I don't know. And when you do, then you say, I know. But that works everywhere in your life. You don't just need to take that, to cosmology. But that is my suggestion to you, is just say I don't know. And if you do, if you do know, you need to tell us.
Well, there's some other people you should tell as well that do this professionally, that study stuff. I'm sure tweet it at Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for calling in. Sorry that you asked a question and then I talked for 4 minutes.
I appreciate the attention. It's a good question.
Yeah, we appreciate you. Were you adding the God label to the things you don't know? Just questioning?
Well, I mean, I came up in a Christian background, so I mean, I use the word God, but my idea of it now is I still hold true to that. I don't use God just because I don't have an answer, but I don't think the fact that I don't have an answer proves that God exists either. But I just came up in a God background, so that's just how I came. I mean, that's just,
you say you came up in a Christian background, and that your idea about God has changed. Would you still say that you're a Christian?
Well, I never call myself a Christian, and that's just playing semantics as far as Jesus calling himself a Christian and all that. Mm-hmm. But would I say I'm still part of that faith, as in believing that Jesus Christ exists and all this? Yeah, but it doesn't logically add up to me anymore as far as historical facts. But I mean, to be honest, it's just a part of me that I came up under it. I don't look at it like a Santa Claus thing. So I don't look at it like it's fairy tale, but it is a part of me that feels like when I do pray or if I ask for something, it feels like I have some type of connection with something. So I still do, acknowledge it, but not in the sense of people that go to church. If that makes any sense.
Yes. I like where you're going with that a lot, actually, particularly since you brought up Santa Claus yourself. What if I was going to guess, and I'm going to a little bit, even though I shouldn't now because we're a little bit short on time, is that you attend a church and people that you know are in a faith-based community, presumably? Like
yes.
When you go to church, there's like the social aspect of that. Okay. Presumably you could still go and enjoy that without believing that, even if you didn't believe that a guy named Jesus existed. Which, again, I know that I'm willing to say, yeah, sure, there's probably at least one apocalyptic rabbi named Yeshua running around early Palestine talking about how the world's going to end and how you should give him free stuff. But what I would say is that you say, oh no, but it's not like Santa Claus because when I pray, I feel connected to something. And I would say, if you learned that the act of praying and feeling connected to something was a thing that happens to humans regardless of whether they're praying to Jesus or Allah or Vishnu, or whether they're just engaging in a kind of meditation, would that affect whether or not you believe that there's a force or a God named Jesus?
I think it may affect exactly like what I'm calling him, but that actual force or power, I don't think that idea would change. But I understand where you're going with it, because some people do pray to maybe Allah, and they feel like their prayers are being answered. And I'm not want to call anybody a liar. So I will say that maybe it does have something to do with just the idea of the meditation. Maybe if you don't even pray to a specific God, just that meditation or whatever, concentration gets things accomplished. I think that force exists. I think to me, I'll reason to say that force is actually something. Maybe I'm just calling it the wrong word.
Well, I mean, okay.
Title or whatever.
I would love to continue having conversations with you, and yes. I hope that you're open to calling back again or contacting us online. Is that something that we can arrange or do?
Oh yeah, I like you.
Oh yeah,
we like you too, Charles.
Yeah, and we liked you even before you said you liked us. We promise. So, yeah. Do you know how to get a hold of us over email and Facebook and all of that? And you know the phone number, obviously. But
yeah, I can figure it out. It's in the whatever it's called.
The description.
Underneath, when I click on the button, y'all got it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in, Charles, and I hope to talk to you more.
All right, appreciate it.
All right. You know
Hopefully with less speculation about how the universe began.
Yeah.
And a long story about...
That was a very long story.
He
that is
asked
okay.
for speculation, and so I gave him 4 minutes of it. I think that's a reasonable response.
No, it's not. So I'm actually really glad we jumped into some good theology and actually talked about atheism, because that's what this show is all about, and we really want to be able to give you those conversations.
Yeah.
Carl in California, how are you doing? You're live with Eric and Jamie.
It's good to talk to you again.
Good to talk to you. We're in the last minute, but we just wanted to, what did you want to talk about today?
Well, I'm the Karl that called last week and brought up, and it's obviously not going to be able to be talked about in a minute, right?
No, but I guess I wanted to ask you, did you hear the conversation with Rusty?
I did, and it gave me a lot of interesting things to talk about, but...
Awesome.
Well, did it give you any interesting things to think about?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. So I definitely do want to keep this conversation. I wanted to grab this call because I did want to check in with you and let you know we're not just trying to kick you off or anything like that, but we just ran out of time.
Okay, yeah.
So let's keep in touch, and maybe we'll
come back next week.
Sounds good, brother.
Yeah, and actually in between now and next week, there's places you can get in touch with us. This sounds kind of like a conversation that could be handled.
Yeah, Karl, it's really loud in the background, so we're going to let you go, okay?
We're going to let you go. All right. Get in touch with us. Email.
All right.
Reddit. Okay.
So, 2 things before that are really important that we want to take time for. The number one thing is, Janet, thank you
for everything.
And
thank you for the sun, the moon, the stars.
In this one, it's a thank
Love
you
rings
for
to Janet.
Janet actually went through and did all of the show notes for all of our podcasts.
Yes.
And that is exhaustive. It was a lot of work, and I've been forgetting, and I feel like a terrible person. Janet, we love you. I also don't feel like we've given enough love to Colonel Phil, who does our animations. And
oh my gosh,
Phil, you're the best. I mean, we do really appreciate you. But
I feel like this show has like an extended family, basically. Like I feel like Janet is our mom, is like Talk Heathen, the show's mom, that's like over-involved, but like an incredibly, unbelievably helpful way. And you're just like, yay! And I got Lunchables in my lunch today. Thanks, Janet. Right? And then like Phil is like the uncle that shows up with cool stuff, and you're like, yeah! And then I don't know.
Yeah, and we do want to thank everybody else, everybody in the back room who's making this happen. We want to thank our live studio audience.
Live studio audience. You also had to listen to my rambling story for 4 minutes.
If you like what we do, like, subscribe, and share this out.
And donate.
Yeah, donate.
You are an employee of the ACA. Yes. If we run out of money, you can't be an employee.
I know. Bring it in. Bring it in. Until next week.
Wait. We got to. So here's the thing that we've been missing in our sign off. 1, the mess ups are a joke. We're awesome and perfect. But 2, what about the people that already don't believe? Because we say like we don't hate you. We say you're wrong. Yeah.
You have community.
Yeah. Hey, to the people that don't believe or are questioning and don't realize that they don't believe yet, come on by and talk heathen to us.
And come on, Jamie, I want to do the thing. Ready?
All right, okay. And for those that do believe in a Jesus ...
Mother, I swear. We
Janet
don't
is
hate
listening.
you.
We don't hate you.
We just
Eric
think
just thinks you're wrong.
What the hell, man? I swear. We're never going to get this.
No. You know I do that on purpose.
I know.
But it's because I got